Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Taufiq Jovi Azissi, and today we are going to conference about the problem of water resource in Indonesia, the solution. So, the moderator is take away.
Thanks for Master Ceremony for letting me to lead this conversation. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this audience conversation. In this occasion, I'm Zoyana Sharon Tiara and my friend RIZKI would like to have a conversation from our group. Before we start this conversation, let me explain the rule. First, the presenter presents the material and the audience pay attention with focus. Second, the question session will be opened after the presenter explains the material. Third, the audience use the raise hand feature, then introduce themselves and mention the presenters and their question. Here, Group 2 will conversation about Jakarta land subsidence and clean water problems. There will be 2 sessions and each session is for 3 questions. In first session, my partner RIZKI will lead the session.
Thanks to my partner Zoyana Sharon Tiara for letting me to lead the conference. In the first session, we will discuss about Jakarta land subsidence. Introducing before the presentation begins, allow us to introduce the speaker presenter. This is Sharon Kezya, she is the speaker 1, and Salsabila Ramadhania, she is the speaker 2. Welcoming without further ado, I would like to welcome the speaker 1 to deliver the presentation. All right, Sharon, the time is yours.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining today's conference about Indonesia's water problem. So first, I will talk about the geological cause of the sinking of Jakarta. Next. Indonesia's capital city, Jakarta, is the world's fastest sinking city. This less well-publicized issue of land subsidence or the sinking of land is due to the exploitation of groundwater, causing Jakarta's position to seawater to be lower. Combined with rising sea levels due to global warming and heavy seasonal rains, it can be said that Jakarta is on the verge of sinking. It is reported that areas in the north of Jakarta sinks at a rate up to 25 centimeters per year. Next. Backfilling of the river flow for the construction of housing and other infrastructures that tends to be impermeable is one of the proofs that the Jakarta citizens are drowning Jakarta. Laws and regulations to secure Bogor, Puncak, Cianjur area were also violated. The people upstream only use their land for cultivation because of their high awareness of the need to maintain forests as watersheds. But on the other hand, people in the city built areas that shouldn't be worth building due to strong business demands, such as hoarding swamps and narrowing canals. Next. One of the impacts of land subsidence and human activities is none other than flooding. Floods that always come every season can no longer be separated from Jakarta. History records that floods have affected Jakarta since the Dutch East Indies government. In 1619, Jan Peter Zungun asked Simon Steven to design a city at the mouth of Jakarta of Ciliwung River, which experienced frequent flooding like Amsterdam, Netherlands. Jakarta, which was once Batavia, was filled with moats, city walls, and canals that surrounded. With the construction of these buildings, Koen hopes that the city is flood-free and can become shipping traffic like Netherlands. But in reality, The canal system was unable to cope with the great floods in 1932 and 1933. So, what causes Jakarta always experience flooding? Next. In addition to the various factors that have been described, there are other perspectives that must be monitored and understood about land subsidence or flooding that occurs in Jakarta. According to Indonesian Institute of Sciences geologist Jan Sopaheluakan, flooding in Jakarta is impossible to solve with canal system because viewed from a geological perspective, Jakarta is a flood basin. On the other hand, the northern region of Jakarta experienced elevation due to tectonic processes. As a result, water from the 13 rivers that empty into Jakarta Bay cannot flow smoothly and is often trapped in Jakarta's large basin. This basin is formed by sediment that is very thick but hasn't been consolidated, causing the soil in Jakarta to geologically subside. Next. According to Van Bernalen, Jakarta is composed by coastal sediment and volcanic sediment. The process of stratigraphically distributed coastal formation is spread among volcanic sediment through a flood mechanism. Rivers that erode layers of volcanic sediment reveal the coastal sediment below. The natural process of eroding volcanic sediment by river flows is clearly visible. This is seen on various geological maps of Jakarta that show that along the Jakarta River flow has a type of rock that is coastal sediment and not coastal sediment like the majority of constituent rocks in South Jakarta. In addition, it is also seen that the North Jakarta area is composed by coastal and river sediment that indicates that Jakarta is indeed a flood area. Next. Geomorphologically, Jakarta is a floodplain. Floodplain is an area formed from sedimentation processes during a flood. Floodplains are generally found around winding rivers or at points whose creeks meet the main flow, and it is widely spread in Jakarta. Therefore, because in theory, the location of floodplains is always associated with the existence of meandering river flows, so that with the number of river flows passing through Jakarta, it is clear that the logical consequences of Jakarta area are very vulnerable to potential flooding. Next. Geologically and geomorphologically, Jakarta is indeed a flooded area. The existence of morphometry from 13 river flows through the Jakarta area becomes access for surface water flow or direct runoff derived from rainfall in the upstream area to enter the Jakarta area. So it is natural for Jakarta to become a flood area. The development of flood infrastructure and environmental protection measures to improve the damage conditions and severely reduce catchment areas are only measures to reduce the potential risk of flood disasters and not to eliminate them. If the infrastructure and environmental conditions of the catchment areas are of good quality, there is always a potential risk of flooding in the Jakarta area. And that brings us to the end. I would like to thank you guys once again for your time and attention.
Thank you for the informative and interesting talk. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and then I would like to welcome the speaker to deliver the presentation. All right, Salsa, the time is yours.
Moderator, is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for your constant attention to this conference. My name is Salsabila Ramadhania. I'm as the second speaker. Continuing the topic of subsiding land, I will be explaining about flood and groundwater loss prevention using water infiltration wells. Jakarta's poor geological condition is only one of many factors that are pushing the subsidence of the land. Another is caused by excessive extraction of underground water, or also known as dewatering. The removal of groundwater compacts the soil aquifers, the underground layers or water-bearing permeable rock, and causes the surface levels above to drop. The rapid urbanization that has been happening in Jakarta the past few years are a major causes in this as well. People in houses or company buildings are constantly exploiting Jakarta's scarce groundwater by drilling water wells of their own. Not to mention the overwhelming weight of grand skyscrapers are also further stressing the already weakened land. Unfortunately, land subsidence cannot be reversed. However, it can be slowed. Tokyo and Shanghai are two cities that experienced major subsidence of land. However, they were able to overcome it. The main idea of both their plans were to restore the amount of groundwater in the land in order to slow down its sink rate. This method proved to be successful as Tokyo managed to push down a staggering loss of 10 centimeters per year in 1968 to a mere 1 centimeter per year in the early 2000s. Flooding is the biggest effect land subsidence brings, a word that is guaranteed to be familiar in the ears of Jakarta's citizens. For the longest time, Jakarta's authorities have mainly focused on preventing floods rather than addressing the main root of the problem, the subsiding land. And though there is currently no known way to reverse it, the one thing we can do is slow it down. The idea proposed in this presentation will not only help Jakarta regain its lost groundwater, but also help decrease the intensity and severity of floods that occur. The idea is to use water infiltration wells to prevent flooding and loss of groundwater. A water infiltration well is an engineering conservation technique in the form of a building made in such a way that it resembles a well dug with a certain depth that serves as a place to hold rainwater from the roof of a house and permeate it into the ground. Rapid urbanization in Jakarta has made it so that people are constantly constructing houses or expanding them. And since the cost to build or expand a building horizontally is much cheaper than vertically, then the result is that the land needed to absorb water into the ground is gone. Paired with poorly designed drainage systems means that for floods to occur in cities or housing areas is something that should be well expected. The construction of water infiltration wells can be used to face floods and the loss of groundwater in urban lands. It's an alternative choice that requires minimum funds, land, is simple and yet can be effective if implemented correctly. A few benefits that can be taken from these wells are, it reduces surface runoff and prevents waterlogging, thereby reducing the possibility of flooding and erosion. It maintains groundwater and increases groundwater supply. It reduces or prevents the occurrence of seawater intrusion for areas adjacent to coastal areas. It prevents land subsidence or subsidence as a result of excessive groundwater extraction, and it reduces the concentration of groundwater pollution. To overcome floods and land subsidence, it is expected for each house to have a water infiltration well constructed in its yard. For these wells to work, it must be designed accordingly to the environments where it shall be built. The design of water infiltration wells consists of different shapes, types, constructions, and structural dimensions. Standard regulation calls for the wells to be in the shape of either rectangular or cylinder with a minimum of 0.8 to a maximum of 1.4 meters and a depth customized with this construction type. When designing the structural dimensions of a water infiltration well in urban regions, there are 3 parameters that need to be given attention to, which are soil permeability, rainfall, and the area of the rooftop. Soil permeability can be determined by measuring it in the location of the construction with the inverted auger hole method. It is needed to determine the volume of the water infiltration well. Rainfall is needed to determine the dimensions of the well, and measurements of the rooftop area will be the basis area where the rain will fall directly on. To prevent flooding and loss of groundwater in urban areas, it is urged to begin planning water infiltration wells constructions as soon as possible. The application of water infiltration wells in residential areas is a must that needs to be realized in every house as an effort to anticipate the danger of flooding and further prevent the decline of groundwater level, ultimately decreasing the ever-rising rate of land subsidence in Jakarta. That is all from my presentation. I hope it managed to shine some light on the importance of this matter. I thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you for the informative and interesting talk. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to question and answer session. In this session is for 3 questions. Please, the audience uses the raise hand feature, then introduce themselves and mentions the presenter and their questions. Any question? Okay, Qhemal Pratama, please mention your question.
The first, I mentioned Sharon Kezya. I want to ask about Jakarta land subsidence. And now in the material, there is a perspective that Jakarta is a flood-prone area due to development in swamp and narrowing of canals. The question is, what solution would you describe to reduce the development with strong business demand so as not to experience the same thing? That's it. Thank you.
To Sharon as speaker 1, please answer the question. Let's take 2 at the answer of speaker 1.
All right, thank you so much for the question. That is actually a very good question. So, Jakarta has been the center of civilization since the Dutch East Indies government. It means that Jakarta is filled with buildings and other infrastructures since then and had a lot of developments. It can be denied that there's nothing we can do to undo the infrastructures that have been built. But there is one move that is currently ongoing, and that is moving the capital city from Jakarta to East Kalimantan because of the crowded Jakarta, plus the fact that Jakarta is sinking. Even though every move has its own pros and cons, this move is the closest move that the government can do to save Jakarta. So that is my answer. Thank you.
Please, questioner, have you satisfied with the answer?
Maybe that's right for me. Enough for me.
Thank you, questioner. Thank you, Sharon, for speaker 1. Okay, any question for the next question? Okay, Qanita Sausan, please mention your question.
Thank you for allowing me to ask. My name is Qanita Sausan. I want to ask the second speaker, Salsa. So it was said earlier that one way to reduce the intensity of flooding is to use water infiltration wells. And it is hoped that every house will have one. Then what about houses with narrow land and no yard? Is there any solution for this?
Thank you, Qanita. To Salsa as speaker 2, please answer the question. Let's take a look at the answer of speaker 2.
First of all, thank you very much for the question. Excellent question. So if it isn't possible for each house to have one, then a solution possible would be to make one per X amount of houses. Perhaps every 2 or 3 houses we could build one infiltration well. It wouldn't be as effective, yes, but I'm sure it would still prove to be of help. I think that's from me.
Please, Qanita, have you satisfied with the answer?
Yeah, thank you. It really answered my question.
Thank you, Qanita. Thank you, Salsa, for the discuss. In the next, Putri, please mention your question.
My name is Putri Rusyda. I want to ask to second speaker, Salsabila. Can the water infiltration wells that have been expired only be implemented on land in the form of soil or on land such as yours in the form of concrete or asphalt on the highway? If so, is there any difference in the manufacturing process? Thank you.
Thank you, Putri. To Salsa as speaker 2, please answer the question. Let's take a
Thank
look
you very much
at
for
the
the question.
answer of speaker 2.
Thank you very much for the question. Brilliant question. My answer is for houses nearby, for roads nearby houses or neighborhoods, it is possible to build one somewhere by the roadside. However, building a well on a highway is not recommended as it could become somewhat of a safety hazard. For highways, the best solution would be to design a proper and effective drainage system that can lead rainwater to an area where it can be absorbed back into the ground. And that is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Salsa. Please, Putri, have you satisfied with the answer?
Is enough answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Salsa. Thank you, Putri. Maybe 3 questions is enough for us now. Thank you for Sharon and Salsa as a speaker, and thank you to the audience who asked. To end this presentation, let me just run over the key point again briefly. Continuing the topic of subsiding line, I will be explaining about flood and groundwater loss prevention using water infiltration wells. The construction of water infiltration wells can be used to face floods and the loss of groundwater in urban lines. To prevent flooding and loss of groundwater in urban areas, it is urgent to begin planning water infiltration wells construction as soon as possible. The application of water infiltration wells in residential areas is a must that needs to be realized in every house. As an effort to anticipate the danger of flooding and prevent the further decline of groundwater level, and ultimately decrease the ever-rising rate of land subsidence in Jakarta. Now, we will proceed to the next session, with session 2. My partner Zoyana Sharon will lead the session.
Thanks to my partner RIZKI for letting me to lead the conference back. In second session, we will talk about clean water problems. Introducing before the conference begins, allow us to introduce the speaker. This is Ayu. She is the speaker 3, and Yuaniar Prasetya, he is the speaker 4. Welcoming without any further ado, I would like to welcome speaker 3 to deliver the presentation. For Febi, the time is yours.
Is it my PowerPoint clear, moderator?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, all. I would like to say thank you for coming to this conference, and it's great to see you all. Let me introduce myself. So my name is Ayu Trihana, and here I wanna talk about Indonesia water problem, and especially clean water problem. Before that, let's talk about why is water so important. In this world, human, animals, plants, and or another organism need water to survive their life. And let's take our own example as human. Our body uses water in all its cells, organ, tissue, help regulate temperature and maintain other bodily function. Because our body loses water through breathing, sweating, and digestion. It's more important to rehydrate by drinking fluid and eating foods that contain water. And of course, we all need water to do other activities, such as take a bath, cook, washing clothes, and etc. In this area, everything has changed, lifestyle, development system, and other things. Everything becomes more modern and easier, but unfortunately, we all have a problem about water resources. Because you are Indonesian, so let's focus on the Indonesian water resource problem. First, there's flood. Flood it is natural disaster that occur when excessive water flows somewhere to land. Flood occur a lot in big cities. This could be due to the lack of water catchment areas, improper urban planning, and waste problem. Second, drought. Drought is a state of lack of water supply in an area for a prolonged period. The first and most common cause of drought in Indonesia is caused by climate change, which make rain less frequent. If there is very little rain, the dry season will be longer and drought will occur. Number 3, water sediment. In Indonesia, we call das or daerah aliran sungai. Currently, some watershed in Indonesia are damaged as a result of change in land use, population growth, and lack of awareness of watershed environment conservation. Number 4, clean water problem or clean water crisis. As I've said before, we will discuss more about clean water crisis. So, what is clean water crisis? Clean water crisis is a condition where the amount of clean water for life is running low. The problem of the clean water crisis, of course, doesn't only occur in one particular area, but also in several areas in Indonesia. Next is factor causing the clean water crisis. First is water pollution. Water pollution is a change in water condition to the entry of other substance or component in the water. Water pollution occurs because pesticides and fertilizers are waste away from agricultural activities. Second is agricultural system. In agricultural activities, the majority of farmers use available fresh water and unfortunately, 60% of the water is wasted. This is due to the agricultural method used are less or even inefficient. And the third is drought. As I have said before, drought is a state of lack of water supply in area for a prolonged period. And the last is overpopulation. When the population increases along with the rate of growth, of course, the demand for water resources also increase. Another worst possibility is the loss of biodiversity. And what is the impact of the clean water crisis? Number 1 is starving. Starving is, it is estimated that the global use of water for irrigation and agriculture reach 70%, and the remainder is used for domestic purpose. If water shares and farming activities by farmer will be hampered and have a majority impact on the basic needs of daily human life. Number 2 is declining standard of life. To maintain operation, school, restaurant, hospital, hotels, and various other businesses need clean water to maintain cleanliness and health. If this is disturbed, it will certainly have a whole economic loss impact. Number 3 is wetland loss. More than half of the planet wetland have been lost since 1990, and much of this is due to shared water supplies. Number 4 is ecosystem damage. When the water crisis occurs, the most terrible thing are desertification, human losing plants, and the death of wild animals and pets. Furthermore, ecological disaster lead to food and shortage and poor quality of life. And the last is disease begin to appear. Water scarcity that occur can have a more serious impact, namely skin disease and other diseases. So we have been experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic for almost 2 years, where something in our lives changed. Then how is the condition of the clean water crisis during COVID-19? Water consumption has actually increased during the COVID-19 pandemic, according to an initial student by the Indonesia Water Institute, or IWI, which was conducted in period October 19, 2020. For example, bathing activities increased to 3 times a day, or 3 times the normal condition for 96% of our students. You can see the graph by Indonesia Water Institute. And this is the source about my presentation. And finally, I have a closing statement that is, thousands have life without love, not one without water. I hope we all will more concerned about our water resources problems, so we can live comfortably. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivid, for the informative and interesting talk. Now, I would like to welcome Speaker 4 to deliver the presentation. For Yuaniar, the time is yours.
Thanks for me. My name is Yuaniar Ardhianto. Now I will convey about the solution of the problem of clean water. Clean water problem can be prevented or minimized by 1. Infrastructure. The government should be more maximal in infrastructure development related to the distribution of clean water. Second, water management. Clean water management must be effective and efficient. 3. Socialization. Socialization to society is about the use of clean water must be effective and efficient. For bioborehole, make a bioborehole to increase soil absorption. 5. Optimization of river flow, so that the existing water can be distributed properly and optimally. And then reforestation, so that water in the rainy season can be stored properly. And then rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is a tool similar to a reservoir that is used to collect rainwater, which is then used for daily activities. And 8. Don't throw garbage or liquid waste to river, so that the well water is still fit for consumption. And the rest, land conservation. Land conservation is carried out is carried so that soil can still capture and store trash that will be used in the dry season. Solution must be implemented with a sense of awareness of the importance of clean water management, because now not all water can be consumed because it is pollutant or other thing. Thanks for attention.
Thank you, Yuaniar, for the informative and interesting presentation. Now, we come to question and answer session. Please, the audience use the raise hand feature, then introduce themselves and mention the presenter and the question. Okay, audience Tarisa, please mention your question.
Okay, hello, my name is Tarisa. So I want to ask a question to speaker 4. So in the case of the solution of the clean water problems, one way is the government should be more maximal in infrastructure development related to the distribution of clean water. So my question is, what is an example of development intended to address the clean water problem?
To speaker Yuaniar or speaker 4, please answer the question.
Thanks to Tarisa Febi for I will answer the question. The development that can be carried out by the government as the construction of pipeline, water reservoir, or the make a dams or build a DAS. Thanks.
For questioner, have you satisfied with the answer? If it's not, you can give any feedback.
Yes, I think it's enough for me. Thank you.
Okay, we can continue to another question. For audience Wahyu Khairunnisa, please mention your question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wahyu. I want ask to visit Ayu. In this material, there is a material explanation about the factors causing the clean water crisis. One of the factors mentioned is overpopulation. If overpopulation can be overcome, of one of these factors.
Okay, to speaker Pipit Ayu, speaker 3, please answer the question.
Okay, thank you for the question, Wahyu Khairunnisa. It's a great question. As have been said before, that the factor causing the water crisis do not only come for overpopulation. So even if the overpopulation problem can be solved, it doesn't have a guarantee that the water crisis can also be resolved. Okay, thank you.
For questioner, have you satisfied with the answer? If it's not, you can give any feedback.
Already answered, thank you.
Okay, for the last questioner, please mention your question for audience Silvia.
Okay, my name is Silvia Dyah Pitaloka. I want to ask to the speaker 3, Vivit Ayu. In your presentation, mentioned that during the COVID-19 pandemic, water consumption increased and caused the clean water crisis to get worse. Is there anything we can do to help save clean water during the COVID-19 pandemic? Thank you.
Okay, speaker Vivit Ayu, speaker 3, please answer the question.
Okay, thank you for the question, Silvia Dyah. It's a In my opinion, because we are also in this pandemic, we need to maintain cleanliness and, of course, to avoid disease. Then my advice is that we continue to follow health protocols in using water, but not too much. For example, if our hands are not too dirty and do not come out of the house, then just use hand sanitizer or another thing. I think enough. Thank you.
Okay, for questionnaire, have you satisfied with the answer? If it's not, you can give any feedback.
Yes, enough. Thank you for this one.
Okay, maybe it's enough for now. Thank you for Febi and Yuaniar as speaker, and thank you for the audience who have asked it. Because the time is not enough, maybe that's all from this session. I will give the lead back to my partner, RIZKI.
Thanks to my partner, Zoyana. Hopefully, the conference will give benefit for us. Thank you for your attention in this conference. Me and my partner, Zoyana, as moderator, will take a leave. We will return it to Master of Ceremony, Taufiq Jovi.
Finally, we are in the end our conference about the problem of water resource in Indonesia and the problem and the solution too. Thank you for the speakers and audience for coming today. Hopefully the conference gives us benefit, and see you in the next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.